Hello everyone, welcome to today's session. In this session, we are going to see file actions. As part of file actions, we are going to see a method called dump. Dump is a file action which saves text to a new file. It always creates new file. Whenever we start writing, it will create a new file and write new content into it, whatever the content you want to write it. Each time you execute this command, each time it will create a new file and write a new content into it. So that's dump. It's very simple. Syntax goes like dump and you specify text to and then you provide file name. And you can also provide variable and write it back into the file. Example, first name, last name, location into a file name called names.csv. So wherein all these three things will go into a file. The point to note in this case is it does only one time. Each time you use this command, it will overwrite what you have done on the file. It will create a new file and it will write back. Especially used for when you're writing and create a new file and create a header freshly, one-time activity. For that purpose, this is very, very helpful. So let's see an example demo in detail. Welcome back. To launch our Notepad++, let's start the dump example. Let's say Tagui File Actions and dump method. Syntax is dump and you provide some text to a file name, and or dump and you provide variable and to file name, same thing. Let's see a simple example. How do we use this? So let's say we want to create a file, or let's say we have a text. It's just simple. Say text to be stored in the file, or you don't need quotes, but you can just say this is the text you're going to store to a file called dump example file.txt, and this is where you're going to store. And let's just save this. Save in this location wherever you want to save your code, and I'm going to save it in the folder called dump, and then say specify name dump example dot tag. Say enter. So it saves. So let's just minimize this. So what it does is whatever the text you see here in this section will be written. So dump will do is it will create a new file called dump example file.txt in the same directory where your ex.tag is located, where you're running this code. And once it starts, it creates a file, and once after creating the file, if it file exists, it will delete it and recreate it back, and it will copy this content which is over here to here, write it back into the file. It will open the file, write it back, and then close the file. That's what dump does. So let's see this example in detail, or by executing it. To execute it, let's launch our command prompt. To launch our command prompt, come to search, say cmd, and you should find command prompt. Double click on that and navigate to the location where you have stored your dump.file. So I have stored it in this location. So I'm going to basically say tag UI dump ex.tag, and I'm going to say -h because there's nothing UI, there's no UI here, so that we can see what is happening. And for our references, I'm going to open the location where this file should be created. So if you can see, you have two files here in this folder, and this on the screen. So we have two files, but there are no other files available. So the moment I hit enter, and Tagui starts launching, and it started and it's executed. So if you can see here, it executed it, it finished executing it. You can see the execution over here, and when you come back and let's refresh this page, you can find this file. Earlier the file was not there. So what Tagui did is it created the file which is called dump ex file.txt, and it basically wrote it in this particular location which you can see here, and which is over here, and you can see that file is being created here. Let's open this file, see what is the content. So it's the same content which we have written into our tagui.txt. So now let's try let's see a little bit more variants of it to understand a little bit more. So let's say I update this one as line 1, and I say home, and I say line 2. Let's see what happens. So let's save this and run. So we'll see both the lines are recorded or not. So let's minimize this. Let's come back here and refresh this, and let's run it again. So let's run. So it started, it basically wrote 2 lines, but like let's refresh page and let's go and open this, which is over here, and it will asking me for reloading it. I'm saying yes. So to reload it. So if you really see that, it basically flushed all the content of one. Only the last value, which has been here, which is line 2, is basically get recorded. That's what I said in the beginning, that dump file creates only one time, and then it writes only one time, and anytime you call that again, it will freshly create it, will delete all the content, it will overwrite all the content, and it will update with the last value which it has. It is useful for creating a file and writing headers and some sort of information, not meant for appending it. Each time it will create a new file and update the file or store the information. So it's very useful for one-time storing information in a file. Let's see an example how we can use it with a variable and how we can able to use the dump example. I'm going to use, let's do some web operation here and see how we can able to do. Let's launch our Chrome. Let's go to our example site which we've been using, which is Investopedia. Let's go to the education, and let's say in this case we go for PDFs, and let's say, or let's click on this, and let's try to get the content of the file which is over here somewhere else, right? So let's see, let's inspect, let's take the content which is over here in this case, which you can see here, this content, and try to store it in the file. Let's see how it works using a example of a variable, and also see how we can able to get the content and store it in the file using let's minimize this, and as I'm here, to be very lazy, let's take this whole URL as a launch. We could probably go and navigate, like click this, and then go there, because we have this example. So let's take this example directly and then perform. I'm going to comment these 2 lines, and let's update the thing. Say launch the website, which is here, and let's say time out 5 seconds, and let's click this. So right click on this and say inspect, and you have, so let's take a XPath of it. We can see an ID property. You can see a shortcut by going right clicking on this and go to copy, and you say copy XPath. You should find an XPath. You can come back here and say paste. So write a comment saying what it is. So click the link, which is what is PTF, and this is what you are clicking, and say time out 3 seconds, hoping this page will load within 3 seconds. And let's have a variable which we want to have it, say var get web text, and make it empty. So for our sake, say echo and say equal to, and I can say this, so that we know it is empty to start with. So when we come here, let's try to load this into a variable read, and I would like to have this content. Let's try to see what this content is. Inspect, and you can see this is the content. Let's just say go and say copy, and come back to our code and say paste here, and say to variable, which is our var get text variable. So now what I'm going to do is say dump, provide the details which is there, like variable, say text to dump example dot text file. So let's save this file. So if you come back here, so what we are trying to do is we are going to click it, and we are going to get all the content which is over here into a file by using an XPath to a variable. So what we did is we stored that XPath, and we copied that value to this variable, and that variable we are storing into a file. Let's execute this to see how it works. So I'm going to just make it a little cleaner so that we know where our thing starts. So let's save this and minimize this. Let me close all the open windows so that it's clear, and because we are going to run a web version, so let's minimize this, clear all the content. I'm not going to say this time -h, because we would like to see the Chrome browser and see what's happening. let's go back here. If you see here, the content right now in this file is the old content. So this content needs to be replaced with the new content, which is basically being fetched from the Investopedia site. So let's execute this and see how it works. So Chrome browser launched. So as we said, the first thing should be empty. It is empty. So it is navigating to the site, clicked on the ETF page, also extracted the value and put it in the file you can see on the screen, and finished it. So this finishes the code. So let's go back and let's click on this file and see what happened here. Say right now this is the content which we had previously. Now I'm going to reload this content. So you should see the whole content which we wanted to have it. So let's go to the same navigation path to check the contents are correctly extracted. So launch our Chrome and let's navigate to this site, which is ETF. Click on the link and you should see this content. Let's go back and see this is the content. So it basically extracted all the content which you see here till the strategy. So it extracted all the content which are there into a file. We have seen how to write dump using as text. We have seen how to write using variable, and we also seen how to extract it from the web and write it down into a file. This concludes our dump example. Thanks for watching. See you another one.